In the last tutorial I put together, we put a button on the form which said Save File, and we added a Save File dialog box which allows us to name a file and put it into a specific spot on our hard drive. The next thing I'd like to do is I'd like to move this towards looking like a professional program like we see with Notepad. So one thing what we might want to do is let's just open up Notepad and just see what it looks like. So this is the way Notepad looks. So one thing that'd be pretty cool is instead of having our code on the button the way we have it, that we actually create a menu. So to create a menu like we have in Notepad, you want to go up to a tool in your toolbox called the menu strip. So I'd like you to click that. I'd like you to draw one on your form. Now I know this is something we don't do a lot of, but anytime we use buttons, we could use a menu strip instead. Now, if I go to Notepad, when I look at that top left-hand corner, what does it say? It says File. So what I want this to get to say is the same thing. Click on it and just write the word File. Now if I go back to Notepad, if I hit the Alt key, I see that the F is underlined. So I want to underline the F in File. So to underline the F in File, all you need to do is go to the F in the Properties window and just put an ampersand there. And now you can see I've underlined the F in File. Now let's see what the next thing is that we have in Notepad. So in Notepad, the next thing I see is we've got New, we've got Open, we've got Save, we've got Save As. Actually, what I've coded so far in my menu, or in my button, is I believe all I have is we're writing stuff out to file. That's really what we're doing. So this is the equivalent of a save. So I think I do want to create these things, but I'm not even really sure what a new is. A new, I guess, would strip off everything. We can do that. Let's just go ahead and do that just for fun. Let's go up to our menu. First item here, I'll just click right here down below. And let's get set to new. And I'm pretty sure it is the N, which needs to be underscored. So I'm going to hit return there. Now if I look at Notepad, the next thing I see is open, and then there's 3 periods after that. So I'll do the same thing here. I'll say open. I think we want to underline the O, and then we want to put 3 periods here. And if I go back to Notepad, the next thing I see is save. You see what we're doing? We're just making a menu, just like you see in Notepad. I think I'll underline the save. And again, I think there's 3 periods after that. Nope, there's no periods after that. So I've got a save as. I'll tell you what, I'm going to change this just a little bit. Let's write the one that we just wrote here as being save as. And you're welcome to go back and change it if you just want to play around. I'm just going to make it save as and open. And let's see what else we have here. We then have a line break. Do you guys remember how to make a line break in a menu? Just lay down a hyphen, just a dash. Hit return. And you can see now we have a line drawn across just like you do in the real thing. I do have some shortcuts over here. I have like Control N. If I want to get really fancy, if you click on File and get it to drop down and you go to New, one of your options over here is to set the control keys. So if you keep going down, eventually you'll see something that says something about control keys or shortcut keys. Do you see this? Yeah, so shortcut control keys, and I think the command was what? Control N. Well, that makes a lot of sense. So let's go down to shortcut keys. I'll hit that down arrow. It is Control and then the letter N, and I should be able to select that. So just go up to the letter N. It's probably easier, frankly, to type it in if I can. I guess you can't. You just have to select it. Okay. And then you'll notice, there we go, Control N, just like in the real deal. So you can set up shortcut keys. It can look exactly like the real thing if you wish to. And I'm not going to do it for the rest of these. I'll leave that to you to play around with now that you guys are all excited about that. Let's go to Notepad. And the next thing I see is page setup. I don't care about page setup, and I'm really not sure how to make this print, but I'm pretty sure if you guys want to add print, you could figure out how to print this to our printer in the room. It wouldn't take a lot to figure that out. In fact, here's a little challenge. You figure that out, maybe we'll include it in the real program that we do on this. One thing we can code that'd be really nice to do is the exit button. So I'll go ahead and go down to here. And typically when you exit, you highlight the X. That's the way most programs work. I think that's pretty good. We've got the file down. We also have some edit commands and format and view and help. How about if we just create a help over here to the right and just call it good? I'm not going to play around too much with the edit. You could actually get all of those things to happen too. There's commands for copying and pasting and dealing with all of that in Visual Basic. If you want to figure that out, you can. I will highlight the H, so I'll put an ampersand in front of it, and typically you put in a ampersand and then you have a section in here that says about. That's where you say about a program. Most programs have that. About, maybe I could spell it out a little bit more, about Notepad. And one of the things we could do here, I'll just write a real quick little bit of code here for fun. I'll say message box parentheses Jim Krumm wrote this program. That's easy enough to say. And you can put anything else, and you didn't or something. You can make it funny. Okay, now let's go back to File. The one command that I have figured out right now is my button, and it's save. So if I double click on my button, really what I want to do is I just want to move my code that I have here and put it on to save as, right? So if I just double click here and paste it there, I no longer now need my button down here. I can get rid of it, and now I can really make my program look like Notepad by just moving up the screen, covering up the whole screen so that we just see everything turn white. And I got a little bit of a gap up here. So there's a couple ways I can address that, but probably the easiest way to address that is I just go to Location for the text box that I have here. It says -2. I'll move it up just a little bit. I'll call it -1. That's the X direction. It's this next parameter, which is the Y direction, so I want to move it up a little bit. Maybe I'll move it up to like 25. Yeah, that helped a little bit. Let's go up a little bit higher. I'll say 23. That's probably good enough. I think you get the idea. I can make it look just like Notepad. Oh, something else I want to do is click on the form. Look at the top. It says Notepad, right? Well, let's get it to say that. Now, one interesting thing about this is it does name it for your current document. So when it loads, if you go to the text property, we could change this to untitled dash Notepad, something like that. And you could even get a little icon here which you could capture and put in there, and it'd look really, really close. Now guys, right now it's starting to look a lot like Notepad, isn't it? Yeah, and I think you get the idea. All programs in Visual Basic, you just have to figure out what the format is. You can pretty much mimic them and get them to look like anything that you've got. And you could make the other buttons in Notepad work if you wanted to. This really does save whatever you write here to File, so we could easily get that to work. Another button that's pretty easy to fix is the exit. Does anybody know what the command is for exit? End. So just END. That should do that. Now, let's go ahead and say that we want to open a file. We have not written the code for this. I can tell you the code is going to look an awful lot like the save file. So if you just go up here, copy what we wrote before for saving. We can come down here for opening, and we can just paste that code. Again, I'm going to need a name, a file name that I want to open. But guess what? Instead of Save File dialog box, you know what it's going to be? Open File dialog box. And the problem is we haven't got one yet. So let's go get one. So if you scroll down to your dialog windows, it would be under Dialogs. And if you scroll down here, you'll see one that says Open File Dialog. Let's double click on that. There you go. We've got it. Now let's go back to our code, and I'll select Open. And this is where I write the code. So instead of Save File Dialog, it is Open File Dialog. Instead of name equals Save File Dialog, it's name equals Open File Dialog. Instead of SW Stream Writer, you know what this is going to be? SR Stream Reader is equal to file dot. Does anybody remember the command? I was hoping you did. Let's go ahead and go to our notes. I think it's open text, isn't it? That's what I want to say. Let's lay down a period, and I'll write O. Yeah, open text. And then you need to say what the file is. We're coming out of here. It's our name. Now, as we read this, we want to add this to our text box. Okay? So to add this to our text box, you're not going to say stuff is equal to text box. No, that'll be a little bit different. You need to say we want to read whatever lines that we have in the file and add them to what we have here. So I think I need to have the variable stuff. And I'm going to say stuff is equal to sr dot what, guys? Read line. That's pretty reasonable. I might have a lot of lines that I want to read. That's the only problem. So I think I need to do a do loop here. Do you guys remember how that went? Do what? What am I going to say next? Do while. While what? I'm reading, so what's the command? Do while. sr.peak is what? Oh, I'm just so impressed. That's right. So do while sr.peak is not equal to -1. And then on down here, some particular point, you need to say you're finished reading stuff. That'll be finished at the comment loop. So we're going to read a line. We'll put it into stuff. Now, there's a couple things I think we need to do. Let's set each of these variables equal to quote, quote. That's a real problem with strings. You need to say there's nothing in them. And when we read the latest in stuff, I think what we need to say is that latest line gets concatenated on to the last line. So I'm going to say stuff and %. Maybe put a space so we don't run the stuff together. And do you see what I'm doing here? I'm saying read whatever you have on that line, concatenate it to stuff, put a space between it, put that into stuff. And now, after you get finished reading all your stuff, so I'm not going to have this right line that I had here before. I just want to add that to the text box. What would be that line of code that would add all that information I just read to the text box? Text box 1 dot text is equal to what, guys? Stuff. And I do have an error here. It's telling me SW close. Well, that's not right. What should it be? SR.close. We're reading it. Cross your fingers. Let's just hope we read a file. This should read any text file on your computer. Let's see if it works. It's pretty exciting. Okay, so I'm going to go to File, Open. Look at that. There's my common dialog box. Isn't it cool? You can go read some file. Well, wait a minute. There was one that was there. I got cat.txt. I could read that. I don't have a cat. Guys, it's working. Let's go read a really long file. If I scroll up and I just look for any kind of a text file I have on my computer, here's my C drive. A log file would be a text file, and it'd probably be a really long one. So let me just hit open there. Oh, it didn't like that. Let's try another one. Here's search.txt. I think all of you have this. That would be a long file. It says it doesn't like that, and I'm not really sure. Oh, it's trying to load it. It's so long, it's trying to load it. So I think at some particular point it'll load it. I happen to know that file is about 8 or 9 megs, so it's gigantic. So you're going to see some of that displayed in this text box. Obviously, it's going to go off the page. One of the things we could do is we could make the text box resize to the form. So that's a possibility too. And I think some of you have probably played with that command in my previous classes. I don't want to see how this one ends, so I think I'll just stop it. If I can figure out how to stop it. Right. I think if I just click in the top right hand corner and just say end now, it'll end too. It'll be a little bit rougher if I say. And the reason was, oh, I know a great thing. This will read any text file, including some of the source files that we've made. Let's try that. So files 3, I can read the source that I just wrote. So I could say run, and if I go to File, Open, and I just look for, say, form1.vb, that's my source that I just wrote. That's the code I'm running right now. There you go. That's the actual code we're loading. Of course, you make it big, it doesn't look so good. Can we figure out how to resize this text box so it just fits in there every time? I don't know whether we can or not. Let's try that. So if I go to the form and I click over here, actually I might have to go to the form itself by clicking on it. And one of the things we've got over here is a lightning bolt. Now these are some of the different activities that we can program. I've never spoken to you about this before. So if I click on that, you can see one of the things I've got here is a resize event. So if you try to resize it, it automatically will run something here. If you click off to the right here, and you just double click, it'll take you into the form resize event, and now I can code this. So I think what I want to do is I want to say something like form1 dot, is there a size command? Yes. I want to say form1 dot size. I want to say something about text box 1 dot size equals. And I think now if we do this, it doesn't like this business of form1. I think it wants me to call it me. Does it then have a form? Is there a form command? No. I think it's just going to be me.resize or size. And I'm hoping that'll work. It did take it. Now when I resize it, why look at that, guys. We're making programs now. So you can see, you just figure a few things out and you can really run with it and have a lot of fun. Right now, this is actually working on almost every respect like Notepad. If I just add a few more functions, we would have it. If I said file, new would mean that we would clean off anything that we have here. I think I'll pick that up in my next tutorial. So I'm going to say that this is the end of this tutorial. Let's pick it up in the next.